We are continuing our Italian series with this episode 59, all about the famous and bucket list city in Italy, Como, on the beautiful shore of Lake Como. Hear about our amazing accommodation. Everything about it was fabulous. The views, the room, the shower, the bed, the breakfast, the staff. It just had one small problem that was an issue for us, and we tell you all about it. Come with us as we wander around the city of Como, around the lake, and what happened as we lined up to get on the Funicular. Remember, I don't like heights at all. I didn't know if I should be happy or sad. We share the most beautiful restaurants on the lake to have lunch, or hire a beach chair and umbrella and actually have a swim. Listen as we tell you about how chaotic the ferry system is and how we found a way to enjoy the lake and the most stunning and exquisite place away from all the crowds, and you probably haven't even heard of it. Next, we explore the old city area and piazzas of Como itself and tell you what happened to completely embarrass me while sitting at a lovely restaurant right in front of the huge cathedral. Listen to the end to hear about another ferry ride on Lake Como to a small village where we did a live broadcast and the fancy restaurant that we were hoping to have lunch in, but ended up having sandwiches and beer. Make sure you click the link in the description to this episode 59 to see all the pictures. You really won't want to miss them. One of my friends who has been following our travels for years said that they are the best and the most beautiful he has seen. So check them out. And if you know someone planning a trip to Italy, please share our podcast series all about Italy by sharing the link to our Italy page on our website at beachtravelwine.com/Italy. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Buongiorno and welcome to episode 59 of the Beach Travel Wine podcast.
Buongiorno, Leonita.
Hi, Lyle. How you doing, babe?
I'm good. I'm very, very good.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Leanne.
Good. Well, as I said in the intro, today's episode is all about Como, on Lake Como.
Yep.
And we spent a whole week there, so we got lots and lots of information to share, haven't we?
Yes. Lake Como is in northern Italy, Lombardy region.
Yes,
It's shaped like an upside down Y.
That's a good description because it's a long, skinny couple of things that like an upside down Y. Well done.
Thank you. If I could take credit for that, I would. But I did read that somewhere, and I thought exactly the same as you. I thought that's a great description, with Bellagio being at the centre of the Y.
Yes.
The surface elevation is 198 metres. The area is 146 square kilometres. The length is 46 kilometres.
Yeah.
The average depth is 154 metres or 505 feet. The maximum depth is 425 metres or 1,394 feet.
That's deep.
It's the third largest lake in Italy.
Mm-hmm. So the first is Lake Garda.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And I think the next one's Lake Menagio or something like that. So 2014, the Huffington Post called it the most beautiful place in the world.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what creds the Huffington Post has, but
someone probably went
I
there.
looked at it and I looked it up, and it's an American progressive newspaper.
Yeah, I knew that it was an American.
Did you know that?
Yeah, sure.
How did you know that?
It's called the internet, Tom.
Oh, fair enough. Fair call. Fair enough.
I did want to say, if there's, once again, we say this at the beginning of every episode, but if there's a bit of background noise, we are recording this from our podcast studio or the lounge room of an apartment we're in Roma in Italy. So there is a bit of noise going on. So please, bear with us. We're trying to soundproof as much as we can. So to arrive in Como, we were in Milano, and we took a taxi from our hotel to that crazy train station in Milan. It's the biggest, busiest train station I think I've seen since we've been in Italy, and we've been to a lot of them. But we did okay. We found our train, but oh my gosh, because it's only a short distance, right?
Yeah.
We got what they call the Regionale train, which
So Milan to Como is only 48.5 k.
Yes,
and it takes about 39 minutes by train, and the tickets are about €5 on the Regionale train.
Yeah, that's right. And so what Regionale means is you basically get on, and if there's a seat, you take it. And I think everyone in Milan was going to Como that day, and we had big suitcases, and there's hardly anywhere to put your cases, and people were cramming in and sitting in the aisles, and it was a bit of craziness, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we've realised that you need to, when you've got fairly big suitcases, you need to get on the train as quickly as you can so that you can find a place for the suitcases, because there's not a great deal of room. No. And Leon only probably pushed over one or two people to get on early, but that's I've never seen the look on her face when someone tried to get it on in front of her. But anyway, we got there and off we went. And as Leanne said, there was people everywhere. There was people sitting on the floor, and
so it wasn't a good mental start. It was a bit stressful. And so we got to the Como station. It's only tiny, and we huffing these big suitcases around, and we knew that we'd have a bit of trouble waiting for a taxi, which we did. I think we waited maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
And there's not enough taxis at the moment because it's so busy, and no one else can come in and work as a taxi driver. You have to be licensed in Como. So a taxi driver told us. Anyway, all that aside, we got a taxi, and he took us straight to our accommodation at B&B
Vista Lago.
Vista Lago, yeah. And wow. Hey?
Yeah, wow. Well, the taxi ride cost about €20. Mm-hmm. He dropped us at the door, and what Leanne's saying is, wow. Well, we had to go down 2 flights of stairs to get to our apartment. But Jonna was our host, and he grabbed one of the bags.
He grabbed my heavy suitcase and basically ran downstairs like it was, a shopping bag.
Yeah, actually, it was quite funny because I looked at he's only a little fella, and he made out like it wasn't heavy. And I think probably when he picked it up, he nearly pulled the shoulder out of its socket. But anyway, he was anyway. So we checked in. We checked in the view from the and because Leanne loves a little open air balcony, and we did have that, and it was absolutely beautiful.
And I know I say this every episode, but go and check out beachtravelwine.com episode 59. You won't be sorry. You'll see the beautiful accommodation. And the shower was sort of half frosted glass and then half normal glass, and you could see through the room out to the view as well, which was pretty nice, wasn't it?
Yeah. And once we sort of got all, and was it king bed, I think?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Look, it was absolutely beautiful, and the amenities were great. There was a fridge, there was everything. So we
loved it. Yeah, the apartment was fabulous. So tell me about Jonna.
Jonna was excellent. I got to tell you, I was very impressed with him. He was super friendly, and he was very efficient and very helpful. When we went upstairs, we had to give the passport numbers and all that sort of stuff that we normally do. But he gave us a map, and he circled all where the places we should go and that sort of thing.
How to get into town, and he told us there's a bus stop about 500 metres down the road.
Yes, he did say that, but he did mention how dangerous it was, and because we just thought we'd get up there and we thought, oh, well, we'll just catch a bus down and it'll be no problem. But there's literally, in parts of the road down, no footpath at all.
Not literally, like in some, like all of it.
Well, there was little bits where
driveways.
You maybe had, a quarter of a, well, yeah, maybe a quarter of a metre or a foot,
And the narrowest part where there was none was around corners.
Around corners, yeah.
And so it's a busy road.
Yeah, very busy road. So we thought we'd give it a go. We'd walk down.
He said people do it all the time.
Yeah, people do. Yeah. Well, obviously they're Italians or come from Lake Como, but we
got about halfway down, and I think I nearly had a panic attack.
I could tell you were pretty anxious, and I'm thinking, hang on, this even for me looked dangerous. So I just said,
but then we had to turn around and come
Yeah, so we said, no, we're not going down any further. And we thought, well, we'll catch a cab. That was the alternative.
So we got to the bottom of our steep driveway, and I rang Jonna and I said, can you call us a taxi? I'm sorry, we just can't do it. It's way out of our comfort zone. Feels way unsafe. Anyway, next minute, Jonna turns up at the bottom of the driveway in his car, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. And he picks us up and takes us into town, doesn't he?
Yeah, he did, and which I was very, very well. We both were very, very grateful. So because
dropped us off at that villa.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, he. I'm just trying to see where. That's right, the Villa del Gramello.
And so that's sort of right on one side of Como on the lake.
It's sort of on the quiet side, you would say, and that's actually a cultural centre now. And then as we walked around,
so this is our first walk around the famous Lake Como.
Yeah, and we were impressed. You cannot.
There's some swans swimming, and there's some willow trees hanging over, and
you can't help but be impressed. But and then we walked past the Chiesa de San Gregorio, which is a church.
Well, before that, though, what we saw first, you've forgotten, is the planes, the water planes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so they're all taking off, one after the other, aren't they?
It was like a taxi rank, wasn't it? They were just going one after the other.
That's right there on Lake Como, right there on the edge of Como.
Yeah, that's actually quite intriguing to watch.
It was great.
Really, really good. Anyway, we kept on walking around. One of the things that I noticed is that there are not that many historic buildings in Como.
No.
And the ones that I think are now being converted into luxury hotels. So,
so we walked around, found somewhere for lunch, didn't we?
Yes, we went to
Amici
Bistro.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of beers and 2 really beautiful bagels with tomato, ham and cheese. And that was about €32. So
not cheap.
Not cheap, but to be honest, it was really, really nice.
Yeah. And we just sort of walked around the lake a little bit more, and we were just doing a bit of an explore, really checking out the lay of the land, weren't we?
Yeah, well, after lunch, we actually, if you remember, we went to the terminal to see if we could pre-buy tickets for the next day on the ferry. We found out you couldn't.
No.
And Leanne already knew that you couldn't buy them online for the
main
full
ferry.
trip.
Yeah. And did we do a bit of shopping that day? Got a bottle of wine and we had dinner before we went back to the hotel.
Well, no, we were pretty concerned because what Jonna had told us is that there aren't that many taxis, and what happens after 8 o'clock at night, or if it rains, it's really hard to get them. So we decided, on our first day, we thought, well, we're not going to take that chance. So we went to the local supermarket, got a couple of bottles of wine, and we got some 2 or 3 minute noodles. I've never eaten them before, but I thought, well, we're better off just not taking the chance that we can't get back up there. The bottles of wine were on average about €5.50. They were fine.
And we had some snacks, and we went back up. We did easy got a taxi from the taxi
stand. We did
stand.
actually.
We found all that, sussed all that out, and we went and sat on our beautiful balcony and enjoyed a nice glass of wine with the view. Yeah.
And don't forget the noodles.
Oh, and fireworks.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that.
So we were lucky enough that I was able to snag us a couple of tickets on a day trip from Como to Lugano. Now, we've done a whole episode on that because it was just amazing, and that's episode 58. But, just a bit of a summary, Dale. What did we do that day?
Yeah, look, it was a full day. It was 9 a.m. to 6:30. The cost was €220, which is $351 Australian.
Yep.
For the American listeners, the 221's about the euro is about the same as the American dollar. Look, we went to Lake Lugano in Switzerland. It was beautiful. We had drinks and something to eat at the Piazza Riforma Olimpia, and we found out that you can pay in French. In Swiss francs or
Euro?
euros. It's dearer in euros. We walked the Parco Siena. We had lunch in Bellagio at the Hotel Florenzo.
Yep.
And we did the Lake Como cruise back. Look, it was really, really nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we had a great day there. So that was a full day, and we were a bit exhausted, but we got up the next day and off we went again.
Yeah, we did, and we haven't talked about the breakfast was included in our tariff at the Vista Lago.
Yeah.
And honestly, the breakfast was absolutely beautiful. Fresh orange juice.
I woke up looking forward to that each day.
Yeah,
fresh orange juice,
coffee. Pretty much all served at the table. Like
fresh fruit, yogurt, croissants,
scrambled eggs, ham and cheeses. Yeah, it was, and you could
toast.
Toast. If you wanted to, you could go out onto the balcony.
Yep.
And have it there.
Yogurt.
Look, the breakfast, seriously, 15 out of 10.
Yeah.
So we had that every morning, and then after that we caught the taxi down to town.
Yeah.
To
the main plaza, I think, wasn't
it? Yeah. That's right. It was about €13, which is about $20. The taxi ride. Look, they came pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, John rang them, so that was handy.
Yeah, and I think normally we waited about 6 minutes or something for them to come up. So,
and so we landed in sort of the main areas. The main square of Como is called Piazza Cavour.
Correct.
And it's right in front of the ferry terminal.
Correct.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of work at trying to keep the infrastructure up, obviously.
Yeah, there was an enormous amount of work. So it did take away from the look of the place, I think, a little bit.
We couldn't walk all the way around the lakefront. You had to sort of do a bit of a detour. But we were going to go on the Funicular.
Yeah, it wasn't the best day, if you remember.
Yes.
It was a little bit overcast and whatever, so we decided we were going to go on the Funicular.
And Jonna has a best mate who's a chef at a restaurant at the top of the Funicular.
In Brunate.
Yeah. So,
did you notice that, Lamb?
Yeah,
Brunate.
I did. He's got to say it more than once. There's an echo.
Yeah, I could tell you a joke about that, but you'd take us off air.
I would, yep. That'd be our podcast career over and done. So the Funicular, like as people know, I am not a fan of heights at all. And
that's correct.
Yes. But I sort of learnt about the Funicular. It's been running, like non-stop for a couple of 100 years. It used to be diesel and then it became traction, and they did the whole thing up. Like it cost them hundreds of thousands of euros.
So did you do that research
in
particular just to make sure that it was okay?
Sure.
Fair
and they
imagine your disappointment.
They built brand new carriages, which are like 12 meters long, hold 80 people, air conditioned. So I was pretty. What was the word? I'd psyched myself into doing it. So we walked around to the little. I don't know, the little building.
You can't. You're talking about with the ticket box.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can't miss it. No. It's basically right on the lake.
And was it €3 each or something?
Yeah, three one way, and I think 5 both ways, which I can't understand that. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, it was cheap as chips.
And so we lined up, and the guy who was selling tickets, he had to go and let one lot of people on, and then he came back to sell us the tickets. So we're standing in line there for a little while, and as we're standing in line to buy our tickets, one of the carriages came down, and so there was like a group of people in front of us. They all got on, and we were probably maybe 10 people in front of us. No, not even that many. No, 3 or 4.
That's it.
Because some of their friends had got on. And so we're standing there, and the one coming down to get us was because there's one going up, one coming down, was get delayed, and the guy said to us, well, they didn't say he didn't tell us.
No, it was the people that their friends had rung them. Yeah.
Yes, or sent them a message.
On the previous
So they'd gone up on the trip, and their friends were standing in front of us.
Yeah.
And she just said, it's broken down. And we're just like, what? And then the guy running the show, he comes out and says, no more, come back, get your money, it's broken down, it's not running. And so these people are halfway up this steep mountain, stopped, broken down on this funicular.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, but can you imagine not being in it?
All I know is that we immediately pivoted and said,
Oh,
we're not waiting for that to get
do you
fixed.
know? I was relieved. I did. I wasn't.
I know.
There was
You
no.
told me. You told me.
There was no disappointment. There was no. Oh, we'll come back and do that again. I'm like, there is no effing way I'm getting on that effing funicular ever now. Like I was just thank. Someone was talking to
Thank
me.
goodness,
Thank
Lan.
goodness. Yeah. So yes, we pivoted and we went back out.
It was probably one of our best pivots.
You're right. We went back up to the lake and we thought, well, we've been left, let's go right. And so we continued walking and it was much quieter around this side of the lake as well.
A lot quieter, yeah.
And we walked past a beautiful villa and not a country club, but like a yacht sort of club, a swimming club.
And then there was a swimming club there with a pool, and they were obviously training for water polo, which is, you don't see that often in Australia. But
and we sort of walked to the end, so you couldn't go any further. But what was that? That was that beautiful big villa with the big fountain out
and
the
that
front.
was Villa Geno, and Villa Geno was pretty impressive. It was built in 1790. Yeah. It was renovated in 1850 with the fountain with jets that go as high as 30 metres. It's now a wedding venue.
It'd be a beautiful place to have a wedding.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough, one of the original owners was one of the
Medicis.
Did I say that? Medici. Yeah.
Okay. Medici.
Yeah. Well, it's normally de Medici, but
of Medici.
Anyway.
Sorry, that's
let's not quibble. But anyway, he was one of the guys that owned it, and it's turned into a really fancy wedding venue now. But there was a restaurant there.
Yeah, so we did. We found this lovely. Actually, we went in because we wanted to drink, and there was no one else in there. And we said, "Could we just get a drink?" And he's like, "Sure, come on in." And so we sat down right on the lake in front of like the beach. They've got like an area where they've got all the beach chairs and umbrellas, and it's called La Giuliette or something like it's right on the lake. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. It's Giuliette.
Yeah.
El Lago.
Yes, so Juliet of the Lake.
Yeah, we had lunch there. It was
well, first we had a drink because I had a Hugo Spritz, and it's the best Hugo Spritz I've ever had. And you told the guy that, and he said, "Yeah, that's because I made it."
Yeah. He was. He wasn't shy. He was a typical good-looking Italian guy, and
but because it was beautiful. The sun was out now.
Well, remember it had that private beach.
Yeah, that's right. But it was the day was improving. We just thought, well, why wouldn't we stay for lunch?
Yeah, that was actually the first day, really nice day. The clouds had parted. It was starting to be nice, and we thought, well, we've got nothing else to do.
So what did we have for lunch? Do you remember? Like, I'm sure I had pasta.
I do remember mainly the Ugo Spritz because I wasn't a big rap for the Aperol
Spritz,
but that one tasted more like a mojito than anything else. Nice, but it was really good.
Yeah.
What did we have for lunch?
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I'm sure I had pasta, and
no, I don't know. I think we were more impressed. But all up, it was €57, and which is about $93 Australian. But it was, and that included a bottle of wine.
So we were there for quite a while, and then we walked back and got a few more noodles. I think we tried something else, this time, and because we were able to use the microwave. I think I got like a risotto or something.
Yeah, we were still a bit toey about
the taxis,
and plus we'd had a really big lunch.
Yeah.
So,
but we got a taxi, and we headed back up once again for our $1 million views, eating our dinner on the balcony and watching more fireworks.
Correcto.
One of the favourite things we did while we were in Como was get on the ferry and go up to a little place called Leno. But before we tell you about that, we decided we were going to go and buy tickets to get on the ferry, and Jono told us to get there early, so we wanted to get on the 9:20 ferry, and we aimed to be there at 8:30. There was a bit of a traffic jam on the way down, so we didn't quite get there till about 20 to 9. So we had to line up for the tickets. It was a bit of a line, but it wasn't too bad. But as we were lining up, the line behind us just got bigger and bigger and longer and longer and longer. And then there's two ferries. There's the fast ferry and the slow ferry, and we wanted the slow ferry because it stops at all the different places.
Yeah, stopping at all stations.
Yes, and the fast one just goes straight to Bellagio. And so we've got our tickets eventually, and so you can't buy them online, you can't buy them ahead, and there's one person selling tickets, and we asked for the 9:20, so they gave us that, and we then had to leave that line and go and line up in a longer line to get on the 9:20 ferry. So all the people in line have got tickets to get on the 9:20 ferry. So the 9:20 ferry, big, huge boat, pulls in, and the line, they're getting people on pretty quickly. And we get up to the front. We're probably third in line, if that. There's another couple we're chatting to, a young couple from New York. And we get up to the front of the line, and they pull the divide across and say, nope, ship's full, boat's full.
The ferry's full, yeah.
Which is bloody weird because we'd lined up to get tickets to get on that particular ferry. So I know I go on and on about it, but they've got to do something about the system. I would rather them told us that one's not available. Do you want the next one? Right. And then we could have decided. So then but
then you've still got the problem. You go to the next one.
Well, exactly.
And you've got to wait just as long.
Maybe, yeah.
And then if you go and do something else and you come back, you're at the back of the line, you may never get on the boat. Just to let you know, the ferry ticket, the hop on, hop off, as we call it, is 51.60 cents. Okay, euro. So
okay, so we decided we're going to stand there for the hour and a half and wait.
Yeah.
Because we're chatting to this young couple,
Kyle and Ashley from New York City. Oh, lovely.
Because, as you said, if we leave, we're not going to get on this ferry. So huffed and puffed a bit, got over ourselves, and eventually the ferry turned up. Now, we had plans to go to a couple of different places on the lake. We're going to get off.
At Menagio and Varenna.
Yes. But as we were getting close to Leno, we decided, because for some reason they stopped, people were kept, every stop people were just getting jammed on the boat.
And remember, it had already been to Bellagio for the day tour, so
so we just thought, we're out of here, we're just going to hop off. That little place looks beautiful. There's a villa there with some gardens you could see, so we just thought, bugger it, let's hop off there. And it was the best decision we made,
sure.
There's probably only 30, 40 people got off then. We had the walk around the lake almost to ourselves. There's beautiful red roses. There's the beautiful wooden boats, floating in the lake. There's restaurants, right on the edge of the water. Yeah, it was just, we stopped somewhere and had a coffee, but I can't remember where it was. But when
we arrived, because we hadn't had anything, because we weren't going to get anything before we got.
Well, we'd had breakfast at the
that's true. Yeah, but Leno's about 20k northeast of Como.
Yeah,
it's got a population of 1,800. Its area is 9.6 square kilometres, and the jewel in its crown is the Villa del Bordinello.
No, it's Balbianello.
Balbianello. You asked me to say it's like I was dumb.
Well, you said, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's Balbianello.
Balbianello, and it was built in 1787 by Cardinal Durini.
So it sort of sits out on the little peninsula bit, and trust me, go and look at the photos of this. I couldn't choose which were the best, so I think I put most of them in, and it's Beach Travel Wine, episode 59 of the podcast page. It's just, it was just beautiful. So what we walked up there, and it's about 1 kilometre from the town.
It's fairly steep.
It's fairly steep.
It is fairly steep.
But it's a nice path, and it's a beautiful
the sceneries
on the way. And there's one part of the walk where you could be anywhere. It's just beautiful shady trees and a nice gravel path, and you just, I cool, and the sun was shining. It was just glorious.
Yeah, it was a perfect day for it, and the views were pristine.
Yeah.
The property was pristine.
Well, when you got there, there's like a big gate, and you can decide whether you want to do a tour of the villa and the gardens, or just the gardens.
Yeah, so just the gardens was €14 each, and to do a guided tour of the villa, it's €24 each. So it's not cheap. Look, it's had several owners, but the last owner was a famous Italian explorer, and he led the first Italian expedition to Everest.
Yeah.
And he died in 1988, and he left it to the whole villa to the Italian National Trust. So that was
But he also left money to.
For the maintenance. Yeah. So he had an endowment set up so that they could pay for the maintenance.
Because it's almost deserted for 30 years or something.
Yeah. It's
so the villa's not big, and there's photos of that, but the gardens are what's impressive, I reckon. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, look, there's no question.
There's even a chapel down the bottom, so people get married there, and then they've obviously built a reception sort of area there as well.
Yeah, well, I actually stole off their website. They described it as ornate marble floors, antique furniture, as well as the highest quality soft furnishings. From the impressive gateway, you walk through Italian-style gardens enhanced with statues, fountains, and magnificent trees, boxed hedges, and pergolas. I don't think that does it justice.
No.
It was just, and I think, again, like what you were saying, Leanne, it was such a beautiful day. We couldn't have got a nicer day for it. And the photos, they speak for themselves.
Well, the grass was as green as you get. And they've got these trees which they've shaped into half domes or domes, half circles. And you can see all the way down to the lake, and you can see people arriving in their shiny wooden boats, at the little dock area at the bottom. They've got the massive big trees. There's the smell of the jasmine and those flowering trees was almost overbearing. They've got the paths with the balustrades around them, and you're up high and you're just looking right down over Lake Como, to the other side where the mountains are, across the beautiful gardens and like the ivy-covered walls. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And like the pictures of the red geraniums and the stuff, all the stereotypical pictures that you see of Como, that's what it was like. It was
interestingly, I have a problem with my sense of smell. The one thing about Italy I've noticed is the flowery fragrances. Sure. It's everywhere.
Yeah, beautiful.
And
so. But on the way down.
Yeah, you look down and there's a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, we found out that was actually Princess Caroline's of Monaco.
That's her villa.
That's her villa, and that's. You can't really see much, obviously.
You can from the photos I took from the lake, though.
Okay.
You can't see the pool, but you can see the villa, and there's a boat in front of it and stuff. So go and have a look at beachtravelwine.com, podcast episode 59. There are all these beautiful photos of the villa, Leno, the Princess Caroline's villa. And so we walked back down and...
Yes, we went to Ristorante Lago. And I had a crumb pork cutlet.
Okay, I'm going to tell this story before you do this.
Okay.
I ordered the prawn tart, right? And I said to the guy when he brought it out.
Can I just say, I was surprised when you ordered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When he came out and I said, prawns, and I did this sort of like a circle with my hand saying, like a tart, right? So
like you are now.
Right, that's it. And so I thought I was ordering a prawn quiche, right? But no, it was tartare, which is, obviously raw prawn with, all shoved together in a mushy, lemon sauce that's supposed to cook it.
It had orange and lemon.
It was disgusting. I hated I couldn't eat it. I was going to gag. It was foul. And I took a photo of it. It's on the website, and it doesn't look bad. It looks beautiful because of the view and everything.
Well, actually, I did say to you, do you want to swap? If you're correct. And you, at that stage, had made up your mind you weren't going to stop. But I think why you didn't want to stop, because I had been really looking forward to the pork.
That's
so
it. Anyway.
But anyway, I did taste it, and obviously it's marinated in all sorts of things because it's satay.
Anyway.
I think what put Leanna off was of the context in her mouth.
It was the texture. It was dreadful.
The texture. Sorry, that was the word.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought it tasted all right, but I do understand why Leanne the texture. But anyway,
we were going to head off then to go to another place on the other side of the lake, and we went to the ferry terminal, and the timetable changed for that day for some reason. Another thing that's frustrating, bit of a lottery. So she said, you're going to have to wait an hour. So we then decided, okay, we'll go and sit and have another drink at another restaurant, which I got some beautiful photos at. And because I was still hungry, we had some bruschetta.
Well, we had an Italian lesson too.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, he told. I said, can I have some bruschetta? And he's like, you can if you call it bruschetta, and the Italian lesson is for free.
Yeah, that's what he said. But it was quite funny because we came in, we were this sort of there first, and there was a family behind us, and the guy said, drinks or food, and he had. And what they generally do in Italy is that if you're just having drinks, you don't get the best tables.
So there's an area just to have drinks,
and there's an area if you want to eat,
because they've got their tables set up with tablecloths and serviettes and proper glasses and stuff. So if people sit down to drink, then they have to get rid of all that because they muck it up.
Yeah. So these people basically either didn't hear or didn't listen or didn't care. They've gone and sat up front where the dining area is. Anyway, the guy, the waiter, and I think he was either the manager or the owner. He was not. He was pissed off. So he's gone over and tried to explain to them that was the table I gave you.
Well, yes, because that table was ready, and the one they sat at wasn't ready. There'd been people sitting there.
Yeah.
And the lady said, "That's all right. We just, we're happy to wait. We want a view." Okay. Yeah. And so he's huffed away, and so someone has come out and set the table up with a new tablecloth, the placemats, the menus, the glasses, and then he comes over and she said, "Oh no, we want a drink," and he just lost it. He just said, "Well, why didn't you say that before I set the table? The drinks are over there," and they said, "Oh, we can move." He said, "Don't worry about it." He sort of spat the dummy, and I could see why he was cranky.
Oh, look, I understood straight away.
Anyway,
but he looked at us. He came over and looked at us, and he said, "I'll get your drinks." Basically, immediately, because they're going to be waiting a while.
Well,
so anyway,
they didn't wait long. They left.
Yeah, the lady huffed and puffed and said, "Well, I'm going," and she got off with this because she walked away with the shits.
Yes.
But while we were there, one of the things that really stood out to us, or to me anyway, I think both of us actually, was that there was a lot of private tours, tying up to the jetties, and then there's these beautiful wooden boats.
Yeah, like you see George Clooney floating around on Lake Como.
Sure. Yeah. And we sort of looked at that and went, yeah, that's a bit of us.
Yeah. So what we would recommend, don't do the ferry until they sort out the system, and save the money. And when you come, pay the extra and do a private tour on one of those boats. They'll take you to the places you can get off, have your lunch and that sort of thing. And sure, it's going to cost you a lot more, but you're not going to have all the hassle that that we did. So because of that, we got back on the ferry and decided, what, we just cannot be bothered trying to line up and all that sort of stuff. So we decided we're going to head back to Como.
Correct.
Okay, so we thought we'd better spend a bit of time in actual Como itself. And so we once again got a cab after our delicious breakfast, didn't we?
Yeah.
And headed down into the main area of Como. We just decided we're just going to walk around and explore the old town a little bit. Now, there's a few plazas in town, and it was a Saturday.
Yeah, and it was noticeably a lot busier.
Sure.
I mean, really a lot busier.
Yeah. But when you walk around, that's okay. You're not waiting in line for any ferries or anything. You're just, wandering. And
what you were saying about the piazzas, there's really only four main piazzas. There's Piazza Cavour, which is the one in front of the terminal.
Yeah.
There's Piazza Volta, which is the guy that statue dedicated to the guy that actually invented the
And
batteries.
that's probably my favourite square. I like that one.
Yeah, and then you've got the Piazza
Duomo. Yeah.
Obviously with the cathedral there, and there's the last one's the Piazza Fedele Indipendenza. So, and that's all in the shopping area. Look, it's
as you said before, there's not a lot of historic buildings, but it is quite a nice little old town. And the plazas had, some of them had like little markets set up, and they all had, except for the main one, Cavour. I know it did have a couple too, but a lot of restaurants sort of spilling out onto the plazas and things. So
yeah, but probably the most impressive building was probably the Duomo,
yeah, the church,
the
yeah,
cathedral, and that's the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin.
And we went in, that was free.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was built between 14th and 18th century, located Piazza Duomo. Gothic features are dominant, but does host many Renaissance and Baroque elements. In the 16th and 17th century, was decorated with tapestries made in Ferrari, Florence, and Antwerp.
And I've got some pictures of like that was quite dark, and obviously they're trying to protect them. You're allowed to take photos, but not with a flash. So I've got some photos inside the Duomo. I was impressed. I thought it was beautiful inside. To be honest, it's not the biggest Duomo, is it?
No, it's 87 meters long,
right.
36 to 56 meters wide. So there's different parts to it, and 75 meters high. Yeah, look, it. I think you were a little bit more impressed with that than I was, but look, it was nice, and it's really the only really old, old historic building.
Easy to wander around, and not too busy inside, which was nice.
Yeah, and as you said, it's free. Look, the town itself, it's quite small. It's very walkable.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of cafes and restaurants and that sort of stuff, and the shoe and fashion shops were pretty impressive actually, and reasonably priced. I was surprised.
Not that we bought anything.
No,
we haven't bought anything because we can't put anything in our suitcases. It's just too.
Yeah, we've overdone it this time. But so anyway, we ended up having dinner at the
restaurant out the front.
Yeah, da Pietro.
And I'm going to tell a story because this was really embarrassing. When you sit down to tables, generally in Italy, they come and say, "Do you want still or sparkling water?" Right? And we sat down at this table and had like a ceramic bottle sitting there right next to the glasses. And I thought, with a stopper on it, I thought, finally, a restaurant's given you free water. You don't have to pay for it. I thought it was really nice. So I get my glass out, I open the bottle, and because it's, you can't see into it, pour it into my glass, and out comes this big blob of olive oil. And before I could even look at it and process that it wasn't water, the waitress had come and whisked it out of my hand, and she'd whisked the olive oil bottle away. And
it was almost like she was fielding its slips. She was so quick.
It was seamless though, and she said, "Don't worry, it happens all the time." So she, anyway, so I had to order a water after that. It was a bit embarrassing, but that was a nice little restaurant, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, we had. I had Tangaletti garlic sea bass, and you had Tangaletti duck ragu.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And cost was €81, and that would have included a bottle of wine, obviously. Lovely. Look, the food was as good as we've had in Italy. I thought the food was really, really good there. But I'm a sucker for any seafood.
In general, it was average.
Across the board in Como, it was okay, but it wasn't the sort of place for the food. For the cuisine, as they say.
So after all that exploring and eating, we headed back up to. We got a taxi, and we'd had a bit of trouble getting a taxi that night because it was so busy, and there were people waiting. I think we were about fourth in line at the taxi rank.
Yeah.
Now, two of those groups left. They must have decided they were going to try and get where they needed to go quicker. There was a family, a grandma or mum and two kids or three kids. Anyway, a taxi came and he looked at us, and I pointed to them because they were first. And he said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "Milan." They said Milan, and he's like, basically don't be ridiculous, not going to Milan. So he took us, which I felt a bit bad about, but like he said, no one was going to take Milan. They need to get the train. So
I thought it was a bit rich for them actually to expect to be able to get a cab to Milan, because then he's got to come back.
Yeah.
So,
And
Look,
that was another night when we're back up on the balcony, and more fireworks.
Yeah.
It happened about 3 nights. We're just sitting there looking over the lights and glimmering on the lake, and up on top of the mountain on the other side, the little, obviously the little villages and things, and then all of a sudden these beautiful fireworks just sort of fill the view.
Yeah, they just come out of nowhere.
That was great. So a lovely day exploring Como, see or not?
Yeah, very nice.
Well, once again, it was a beautiful sunny day, and we wanted to get back out on Lake Como because that's why you go there. And it was a Sunday, so it was very, very busy, and we just knew we had no chance of getting tickets early on the main ferry. But we did a little bit of research and had a look when we were in town earlier, and there's another ferry that just goes backwards and forwards to a little village called Turno. It does stop at a couple of other places, but sometimes it's just the express one. And you can actually buy tickets for that one online, go figure. So I bought 2 tickets for us.
2 return tickets, €13 each.
Yep, and it leaves from another sort of pier, not far from the main one, but and so we got there it was at 10 o'clock was the time the ferry left, and we got there with our tickets probably 9:30-ish.
Yeah.
And
we were towards the front of the line.
Yeah, there was a group, though, a huge family group, probably 20 of them, and us in line. And the boat came and we hopped on and we went all the way to Turno. I can't remember how long it took, but it wasn't long. It's not far, is it?
No.
Maybe half an hour.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's about right.
Yeah, and so you arrive at Turno, and we just decide we're going to go there, have lunch, and find a nice restaurant on the lake. Have lunch. We're going to do a live Facebook.
Yeah.
And come back. So didn't quite go to plan, did it?
No. Well, we got off. We sort of looked at each other, which way we were going to go, left or right. We went right. As we were walking up the cobblestone street, we saw there was an art gallery, and there was a pianist in there playing in the art gallery, which was blew me away a little bit. Anyway, it's quite a steep walk.
Yeah.
And because we had no idea where we were going. We're going this way and going that way. Anyway, we eventually got up to near the top. So a nice morning walk.
Yeah, spectacular
and
views.
The views were fabulous, but there wasn't much else.
No.
Anyway, so we walked back down, and by this stage, it's about 11:30, I suppose. And the restaurants, there was a couple of restaurants open, but the one that looked that probably really enticed us to go to Turno was the restaurant Vapore. Yeah.
But before we went in there to try to get lunch, we did a live.
Yes, we did a live with Lake Como as the backdrop.
So, and I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes so you can see the video of the boats going past in the back, and we show you the restaurant and where we are sitting, and there's a whole lot of information in that about Como as well. So it's worth having a look at. So.
Oh yeah, sure. And I thought it was a good live, and but the funny thing was, we were worried about doing a live in the open, more so probably embarrassed or self-conscious, but no one gave a toss.
No one cared
less. So
we did our live.
Yes.
And then we're like, well, let's go to this fancy restaurant, because I say in the live, and we're going to go and have lunch in there, and you can see the red geraniums and the trees on the water, and as we're walking in, there's photos of Robert De Niro and I don't know who else.
Pavarotti.
On the walls, and we're in we looked okay. I had a dress on at least.
Yes, you did, because you knew we were doing the live.
Yeah, stop it. And
well, I assume that's why you wore the dress.
And anyway, so we went in and we said, table for 2, and do you have a reservation? We're like, no. She's like, no, we're fully booked. I'm like, I don't know that they were. However, so another restaurant that was there at Turno was shut for the day.
Yeah.
And then there was another restaurant which looked full as well. And then, so the only place we could get something to eat, we had beer and sandwiches.
Yeah, toasted sandwich. So we've gone from, looking forward to a really
Lunch with
nice,
Robert De Niro
Robert
too.
De Niro, and thinking, well, it's about a second last day, I suppose, or last day in Como, to having a couple of beers with a toasted sandwich.
However, it was right on the lake.
Yeah, no, it cost about €25.
And there's like a little inlet, where all the little boats are moored, and from there you can see across to the little church, which is next to the Vapore restaurant. And so it was actually very picturesque anyway. And there's a little bike sort of cart out the front, selling gelato. And so once again, episode 59, check out the photos or check out the live, because you'll see all that, because I sort of take you for a bit of a walk around Turno where we are too, which is pretty cool. So it was a nice little lunch out. We didn't have to line up. We got, I don't know what.
Oh, nice little lunch out, toasted sandwich and beers. Wasn't what I expected, but anyway.
We're on Lake Como.
Sure. Look, the scenery and watching the sailing boats, because it was a Sunday, it looked like there was a race on.
It was beautiful.
So yeah, the scenery was fabulous. But I'm thinking the toasted sandwiches were above average. That's what
The beer was cold.
The beer was cold. Sure.
Oh man, you're a fussy bugger. Anyway, sport you are.
Absolutely.
The ferry's on time. They're sticking to the timetable. We get back on the little ferry, and we head straight back to Como. Like, pretty easy actually. Like, I found that much more relaxing than trying to get on the big one to Bellagio. See or not?
See.
Yeah. So that was a really, I enjoyed it. I just had a fun day exploring, because we didn't know where we were going or what we were going to do. So
we got back to Como probably 2:30, 3 o'clock, I suppose. Anyway, we had lunch, a proper lunch at Pepe Noro, and it was 53.40. Look, it was, again, we actually had to, the first time we actually had to wait for a table.
Because it was busy.
It was just so busy. There was people everywhere. I really can't remember what we had for lunch.
I had pizza.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
they had Wood-Owen pizzas.
Yeah, and but anyway, so that was our day then.
Yeah, and once again, I don't think we had any dinner, because we'd eaten sort of some sandwiches and that big pizza for lunch, and obviously we've got some snacks that I steal from breakfast to sit and have on the balcony.
Every morning she steals
with our glass of wine.
Yeah, overlooking. This was our last night, and we were overlooking Lake Como, and it was amazing.
So what a sun-filled week we had in Como, and explored everywhere. So just to sort of go back, because we did so much, you want to give us a bit of a summary of what we did?
Yeah, look, the accommodation was beautiful.
Yeah.
Jonna was an excellent host. View from the apartment was spectacular. The accommodation cost about $350 Australian a night, which for what it was, I thought was reasonable. The cost per day was about $300. That included all the transport. Like, the cabs were, what was it,
50,
about
60 a day or something.
50 or 60 a day. So that came in pretty well. Breakfast was included and was absolutely excellent every morning. And
I'll put a link to the accommodation in the show notes as well, because if you have a car or you have a way to get around, and you don't mind paying for taxi, if you know that's part of the deal, definitely worth staying there. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Location was challenging because of the taxi situation. Look, the town's easily walkable. The ferry service, I've got chaotic.
Yeah, it was chaotic, and I think they're trying to work it out. But when you have so many people coming, it's very difficult.
You can't, and just remember, you can't buy tickets online for the full day or the day before. Lugano in Switzerland was just pristine. Well worth if you get the chance to do that day trip. And that I didn't think that was bad for how long it was. Lake Como villages, beautiful, picturesque.
Pick some of the less visited ones and go and explore if you get a chance, or save your money and do a private tour.
Yeah, and the other one, which my other favourite part was Villa del Balbianello.
Yeah.
I thought that was just exquisite.
Just
Look, probably if it was any advice or if I'd change anything, I would definitely book a private boat.
Yeah.
And pay the $900 or whatever it is.
There's different ones. Yeah.
But I'd definitely do that because you would enjoy it so much more.
Yeah.
And so.
And if you're happy to drive, we met an Australian couple that was staying where we were, and they had a car, and they loved staying there because you're out of all the chaos of all the tourists in the main part. So do what works for you. So make sure you check out the photos, beachtravelwine.com, episode 59. And if you want to see videos of any of these places we went, they're all on our Instagram. So we're on Instagram at Beach Travel Wine. And if you go to the highlights up the top and go to Como, they're all there. You can't miss them. And it's worth having a look at those as well. So
yeah, probably the photos. I would say, and this is where Como,
shines.
The reality is, Leanne's photos of Como are probably the best because of the scenery that Leanne's taken. So there's no question it is a beautiful part of the world.
One of our friends follows all our travels and comments on everywhere we go, and he said, I think these are the best photos I've seen of all of the ones you've done. So that's a pretty big wrap.
Yep.
Thanks, Trevor, Desley, that's very nice. All right, so Lyle, your favourite place to have a glass of wine in our week in Como and Lake Como?
Leno, having lunch.
Okay. That's right on the lake there at that little place where we were waiting for the ferry, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, okay. I just thought with all the wooden boats, the private tours, pulling up at the jetty.
The flowers, the walkway, the trees.
It was just pristine.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, my favourite place is our balcony.
I knew you were going to say that.
You did not know.
I did say that. I did because that was probably my first choice initially when I thought about it, and I thought, that bloody scenery. It was just.
Well, I was going to go for Leno as well, but I just the feeling I got the first time we sat out on our balcony, just looking at Lake Como and the mountains and the boats and the view, with a glass of wine, it was pretty spectacular.
And a very close third, having lunch at Bellagio.
Okay.
At Hotel Florence.
Yeah, because we got a nice seat and the food was great. So,
yeah.
Okay, thank you for listening to episode 59. And if you do know anyone going to Italy or planning a trip to Italy, or you're doing it, please listen to the other episodes. We've got a whole lot of stuff all about Italy, Beach Travel Wine /Italy, or share it with a friend. That would be fabulous. So until next time, it's ciao from me.
And arrivederci from me.